Welcome back to my channel, artists. Today we will be making mandala prints. Step number 1, glue shapes to a piece of cardboard. So you're going to notice here that I have a small square piece of cardboard and a larger square piece of artwork. I have more directions on this on the CTLS page if you're really interested. As long as you have a smaller cardboard, that's what really matters. The other thing I want you to notice is the shape that I am actually gluing in. I have these arcs. Now I didn't draw them actually on my cardboard, although you're welcome to, and we probably will in class, but I'm gluing all of my different shapes so they make this arc. I'm also trying to make it symmetrical. That means balanced, so that it's like a mirror from one side to the other. That does make a more interesting mandala print. You don't have to do that certainly, but again, it's going to make it a lot more interesting and feel a little bit more like it works together and flows together. Make sure that you're using white glue when you glue this down so that when you go later to stamp that things do not fall off. Step number 2, paint the background. It really doesn't matter what color you choose to paint in the background. Just pay attention and think about what color you're planning to use on your stamp so that they don't kind of mix together. You wouldn't want to paint black with your stamp and then black in the background. I'm choosing some bright, colorful paints because I was just kind of in a happy, fun mood and I wanted it to feel like relaxing and with a little bit of bright, fun colors in there to have a little bit of cheer and excitement. Again, you can mix your colors, you can dab your colors, splat your colors. It doesn't really matter as long as you fill up the page. If you don't have paint to fill up the page or you don't have the time to do that, you might consider using a colored piece of paper instead so your background is more interesting than white. Traditionally, mandala artworks don't usually have a blank background. They're usually quite bright and colorful. So if you can't paint the background bright and colorful, you might want to use colored paper instead. Step number 3, let everything dry overnight. Step number 4, paint your shapes. Take your liquid paint and paint over top of your shapes. Don't worry if any of the paint actually gets onto the cardboard. It's not that big of a deal. You don't want to paint the cardboard. That's a complete waste of paint. You're really just trying to paint your shapes because that's the stamp that you are going to make. Step number 5, flip your board upside down so you've got that painted part and it's going to touch your paper. You can go directly to your paper here, or you can practice like I'm going to in my sketchbook. So I'm going to practice stamping it just to make sure that I know what it looks like when it's stamped. You do want to make sure you press hard and press on each area of the paper. Otherwise, you're going to have a mixed spot. It especially becomes a problem if you have some areas that are taller and some areas that are less tall. So I went ahead and marked a little spot on the back of my cardboard to remind myself to press harder in that area. Now I'm going to do it for real. I'm going to paint my shapes one more time and I'm going to stamp it. When I choose to stamp it, I am stamping it in the top left corner. It's really important that you pay attention to which corners you're doing this in so that it rotates properly to make a proper mandala. So I want that triangle to be in the center, so I'm making sure that the triangle is in the center and then pressing down in the rest of that cardboard print. Step number 6. Paint your stamp again, rotate it, and then stamp it down. The rotating is the tricky part. Obviously, painting it isn't super tricky, but as you're rotating it, you're trying to make this what's called radial balance. That means it looks like the spokes of a bicycle or a circle where everything is not only balanced and mirrored, but it looks like it's spinning in a circle. So I'm going to take my triangle and I'm going to rotate it one turn to the right, and then I'm going to stamp it down here. Step number 6, rotate and stamp again. This is the exact same thing that we did before. I'm going to add the paint, I'm going to put it over top, and then I'm going to rotate it one turn so that that triangle is in the center again. Number 7, this is our last painting and rotating step. I'm going to add paint to this block one more time, making sure that I've covered every single area. And then when I stamp it, I'm going to check that triangle and make sure it is connected to that corner so that my mandala can have that complete beautiful symmetry where everything has that kind of circle balance as it goes all the way around. Hope you have enjoyed making mandala prints with us. What will you create?